This is United States, and it has AAA combat system, even though we are a self-funded indie team with just 2 founders and a team of freelance players and game devs who support us, question our framework and how we develop this game. And now I'm gonna do a full breakdown on exact workflow we have to achieve these results. The very first point, our inspiration, The Last of Us 2, and that only. Our primary source of inspiration is Last of Us 2, and we work very hard to achieve this result in a multiplayer match. This is extremely complex because we are an indie team with limited resources and not a 7-figure company. Now the second point will be refinement and iteration. This refers to the part where we remade weapon system and weapon animations 4 times to deliver results that were never seen by indie. And also how we remade execution animations 3 times and only now it starts to look like peak. Now the third part is technical architecture. Here the most important is that from the very beginning we have focused on clean structure, performance, and all the technical insights that led us to deliver impressive demo. Alright, now the fourth part refers to experience and knowledge we acquired from all this hard work, the mistakes we did and what they taught us. As I have explained, our primary inspiration is Last of Us 2, and we wanted to try as much as possible to replicate its own fluidity and quality in multiplayer match. This makes it particularly hard because Last of Us was built by a large company with immense resources. And also, as it is single player as opposed to our United States, there is more room for polish and refinement, such as paired actions with AIs, which allows players to perform specific contextual actions, which we cannot deliver here. But even then, this doesn't stop us. The primary advantage we have is that United States is very limited. It is only 4v4 on a small or medium-sized map. It has limited player abilities such as only using firearms, melee, looting, and some miscellaneous actions. And this grants us possibility to build the game which is impressive, polished and refined because of this limited scope. Now, what are the specific parts that we have focused from Last of Us 2? This is motion matching and fluid movement, highly polished weaponry system, melee executions which are brutal and grounded, so melee, and some unique direction that our project has, so uniqueness. The reference for the game mode and how the game plays is the Last of Us Factions, which was a game mode from old Last of Us 1. Now, as the players require modern game, but there is no grounded 4v4 shooter, which leaves a big gap, and many of you could name a game like Ghost Recon Wildlands, but this project is outdated, it is old, and it has dead servers. Also, it is fleshy and fast-paced, which is not grounded, which is not slow-paced, just like Factions. So, our primary goal with this is to replicate Last of Us Style 2 gameplay in terms of modernity, fluidity, polish, and feeling, but incorporate it with Last of Us Faction style gameplay, which produces United States. Now the second part, which is refinement and iteration, here we do not compromise on quality. If something looks off, even though we have spent money and the time on that, we will refine it, we will improve it, and if needed, we will remake it completely from scratch. That's exactly what we did with our weapon system. Now the clip you see here is from like a year and a half ago. It's so unpolished and it's very first version of the game. This is when we just have started. Now this is some time after, and you can see it's still low quality, but it is better than what it was. So here we have reloading, then we have aiming, shooting, shotgun, but look how terrible the aiming is. For example, over here, we can clearly see that character eyes are over here and they're looking in this kind of direction, whereas the weapon is in this direction. Now this is ADS, and how come can character aim and shoot here if he's not aiming in iron sights? Crazy. After all this trial and error, we were finally able to deliver animations. For example, here's the architecture how it works. First of all, we have this character which plays idle animation, then we overlaid the noise animation over it. Noise animation is just hands and legs moving in different directions to create a tension. Here you can see with noise applied, character moves, feels that he is in danger and he is prepared to fight. That's what it does. With this noise pose, he is then a bit crouched. We have another animation for the gun specific, which makes character look around and move this gun. We call it detailed idle animation, just like here. Each gun has specific to its own style. After that, we have aiming. Character aims exactly through the iron sights compared to the older versions of the game. Now for the shooting, we use specific calculation for the recoil, which is also overlaid with camera shake plus an animation for the character, and also for the gun itself. We spawn the VFX, etc. This is all miscellaneous, but here the biggest point comes from the recoil system that we have done, how the gun itself behaves. And each animation, as I described, has specific its own detailed animation other than idle stance. In this case, he's doing this movement with this gun. Now, other than that, we use motion matching system from GASP, but we had no other option. In this case, there is no marketplace animation that could fit motion matching style or the fluidity that Last of Us has, even though we have researched all of the animations that were available at that time. And as we have limited resources, we are simply not able to outsource or have a mockup studio deliver us movement animations that could fit motion match. That's why we had to use it, but we modified it and it is in our own style. When running, we have this additive animation of shaking hands, but whenever we start sprinting, then character goes into this tactical pose where he shakes his hands like in Call of Duty or those kind of games. Now, each weapon, as I said, has its own recoil system, has its own VFX and animations. In this case, this is for the R700. This is the pose for this specific pistol, where it's a bit less powerful, that's why he has more hands stretched, and also the recoil is less on this gun. The reload is specific for each weapon, where if you are aiming, you will do reload in aiming pose, but if you're idling, then you can do this kind of quick reload. It is clear that these refinements, and even though it is more spent money, more spent budget, and more time invested in this, these results pay for themselves. They are worthy of the time and budget invested in them. In terms of execution system, how attacker and victim behave, we used motion capture. So in this case, if I execute this person, we have two types of animations, from front and from back, and we have few variations on each. So for example, I'm going to execute him right now, and he will do this recent. We recently recorded and made this animation, and it has, as you can see, a lot of overlaid effects. These effects can vary from simple camera shake to chromatic aberration, camera shake, execution FOV shrink, and blood on lens. So what is, for example, execution FOV shrink? This is when you hit, camera quickly zooms in and zooms out for amplified effect. Chromatic aberration, which gives chromatic aberration effect when we execute the target, as well as different camera shakes for different moments, and also the bloods on lens depending on the direction we have. Melee weapons are also categorized in their own specific styles. For example, the X is one-time use weapon, where if you execute somebody, done. X has no more usage span, but whereas Machete, you have 4 execution possibilities with it. As a comparison, this is the very first iteration of the execution system. As you can see, fixed camera, no effects, terrible animation, it's just meh. All of these small details build up, and in the end, you receive a product or a game or a demo that is visually impressive, polished, and this is a guarantee of success. And success for many different people can mean different things. Success could be an impressive demo which can be further funded. For us, on the other hand, success is your liking and your enjoyment of our project. In this case, community support. So we cannot forsake you because you deserve this game, and we also don't want to fail ourselves because we love this. We have this spirit that grants us relentless drive to build as much as possible and deliver the results we all want. Now, the third part is all about technical architecture. Alec, creator director himself, is a person who came up with an idea and the direction of the art and of the project. But me, myself, I'm technical director, which means that I lead the technical part of the game. And I myself created the Unreal Engine project for the first time, and here from the very beginning I have had enough expertise to know that structure and clean architecture of the game is one of the key components to guarantee success. And success in terms of game not failing, game not having terrible performance, and game not breaking or crushing, alright? But after all these years and all the experiences we had, all the mistakes we made, all the terrible decisions we had, we all fixed them, and now we are even more knowledgeable and clear that clean structure, architecture, the file system, everything has to be focused from the very on. So what we focused on from the very beginning was the models. We have specific requirement for models to have specific polygon count, triangles, texture limits. Then for the environment, we have also another requirements. For the code itself, code is most important part here because, for example, even though we remade weapon system and weapon animations many times, we never have changed the clean structure I have built from the very beginning. Why? Because even though we changed recoil system many times, even though we changed how the firing is has registered the core of how weapons can be built further on. For example, many different weapons can be implemented depending on the fire type, shooting type, etc. This has never changed. I have focused on the full modularity and scalability because I thought of future up ahead. And this is the suggestion many of you should really listen to. After the time goes, you might forget about things. And when you have everything sorted and neat and nice, then you can easily understand and recollect all this memory. It pays off a lot in future. Saves you time and saves you budget as well, which is all we want. Lastly, the experience and knowledge we received from this game is immense. We had no idea how the mockup worked, how the animators operated, how the modeling and design of the game worked, and that we have learned. For example, we now have all of these execution animations from our mockup artist, who then gives us the raw data. We provide with this our animator, who then cleans it up, animates the camera system, and gets it into the game. Then I set it up, find which is the best animation to play at certain moment. For example, for this machete execution animation, how it works is that we have our custom-made skeleton for this game specifically, and then we have attach bone here, which we animate to then attach camera to here. As you can see, there is a socket as cinematic camera. So this bone gets animated by the animator, then we attach camera over here, and as you can see, it has specific movement, which get then translated to the camera so it looks cinematic, looks immersive, and it looks polished. We are building this project for about a year and a half, and the lessons we learned from our made mistakes are invaluable. And our specialty from all these years has increased to this extent that right now we know all the details and all the insights to produce successful game demo. This is what building a real project means. With limited scope, we can focus on the core and deliver it as polished and as refined as possible because we do not have to touch and stretch over everything at once. We have this small thing, a small game with few mechanics that we can pour our time and energy and knowledge into to do as much as possible, to work as hard as possible. We want the results that are peak and that are impressive. There is still large time until this game gets released, but we are eager to showcase you the progress we have made and what path we are onto, because your feedback and your response matters to us.